Alright, let's dive even deeper into this whirlwind of betrayal and ambition that has left many scratching their heads and questioning everything they thought they knew about these two princes. This isn't just a story about a charity gone wrong, it's a saga filled with ambition, shifting loyalties, and the stark reality of what happens when personal interests overshadow a noble mission. So let's rewind a bit. When Prince Harry and Prince Seeiso first united to create Sentel, their bond was forged in shared grief and a genuine desire to make a difference. They were young, passionate, and driven by a cause that was close to their hearts. The initial vision was crystal clear. They wanted to provide support and resources to children who had been orphaned or affected by the AIDS epidemic in their respective regions. This was about making a real impact on the ground, about changing lives for the better. They had the potential to change the course of many young lives, and for a while, it seemed like they were on the right track. They worked tirelessly, and for years, Sentel made a tangible difference. They were on the front lines, providing aid, resources, and hope to those who needed it most. But as time went on, the dynamics began to shift. The two princes started from a place of equality, but as Harry's fame grew, especially with the rise of his relationship with Meghan Markle, so did his ego. It was almost as if the spotlight had blinded him to the mission they had set out to accomplish together. By 2019, when Harry relocated to California, the issues within Sentel became glaringly obvious. Insiders noted a marked change in his demeanor. He was no longer engaged in the grassroots efforts that had once been his passion. Instead, it seemed like everything became about his image, his public persona, his brand. Meetings were missed, reports were ignored, and the very essence of what they had built together began to erode. It was a slow burn, but the flames of discontent were growing hotter by the day. Can you imagine the frustration of those staff members who had dedicated their lives to this cause? They watched as the charity, which was supposed to be a lifeline for vulnerable children, turned into a platform for Harry's ambitions. It's a classic case of power corrupting, and in this instance, it was happening right before their eyes. The money that was supposed to be used to help children in Lutu was being funneled into PR strategies, celebrity endorsements, and a whole slew of consulting fees that raised eyebrows at every turn. And let's talk about those numbers again. Nearly $50 million in misallocated funds. This isn't pocket change. This is a staggering amount of money that could have transformed countless lives. Instead, it vanished into a black hole of mismanagement. The financial documents that surfaced painted a grim picture of what was happening behind the scenes. Funds meant for life-saving medications and resources for clinics were diverted to image management firms and Hollywood consultants. It's infuriating to think about how many children could have benefited from that money. The tipping point, however, came when Harry made the monumental mistake of advocating for Meghan to assume a public ambassadorial role in Sentel. This was the final straw for Seeiso and many others involved with the charity. How could someone who had never even visited the area be thrust into a role that was supposed to be about service and compassion? It was a blatant display of arrogance, and it sent shockwaves throughout the organization. Seeiso, who had always been grounded and focused on the mission, called a private board meeting to address the growing concerns. His words were sharp and decisive. This isn't Sentel anymore. This has become Harry's vanity project. That statement was a clear indictment of everything that had transpired. It encapsulated the betrayal felt by those who had poured their hearts into this cause. Once trust was broken, it was nearly impossible to rebuild. The internal memos and letters that leaked revealed just how serious the situation had become. Seiso's commitment to the original mission was unwavering, and he refused to let the charity be exploited for personal gain. His letter to the board was a rallying cry, a declaration that their purpose was to help children, not to generate headlines for American tabloids. When local media began to scrutinize the organization, the pressure mounted. Reports of financial mismanagement and questionable decisions began to surface, causing a public relations nightmare for Sentel. Seeiso was left with no choice but to take decisive action. The fallout was inevitable, and he decided to sever ties with Harry. The formal letter he sent was cold and unapologetic, a clear signal that the friendship was over. Now, let's talk about the implications of this split. When you have two figures like Harry and Seeiso, once seen as allies in a noble mission, now at odds with one another, it raises critical questions about the future of Sentel. Who will step in to fill the void? Can Seeiso restore the integrity of the organization after such a public split? And what about Harry? Will he continue down this path of self-interest, or will this be the wake-up call he needs to refocus on what truly matters? This drama isn't just about two princes. It's about the very essence of charity and the responsibilities that come with it. In a world where celebrity often overshadows genuine altruism, it's crucial to hold individuals accountable. The children in Lutu deserve better than to be pawns in a game of ego and ambition. They deserve advocates who will prioritize their needs over personal gains. As we wrap up this discussion, it's essential to remember the bigger picture. The fallout between Harry and Seeiso serves as a warning, an example of what can happen when intentions are overshadowed by ambition. It's a stark reminder that charity isn't just about raising funds, it's about creating lasting change and positive impact. When those values are compromised, the very foundation of the organization crumbles. So, what's next? What's the future for Sentel, and how will this story unfold? We'll be keeping a close eye on the developments as they happen. This isn't just another royal drama, this is a critical moment that could redefine charity work and the responsibilities of those in power. As we continue to watch this saga unfold, let's hope that in the end, the real winners will be the children who need help the most. Stay tuned, because this isn't over yet. The world is waiting to see how this story will play out, and trust me, it's going to be one for the ages.